recipient so you know where your money's going. We actually have now, because it's Easter and Passover, I'm going to actually be going over to South Sudan, and you get a certificate right away, and then, of course, later on you get your photograph, and we also have beautiful Swarovski crystal hearts. They're good for Mother's Day, and they're made by women who have seen somebody killed in front of them. Goats, plural, for theoldgoat.com. That's goats for theoldgoat.com. And now for the news.
Well, hold on, Ellen. I have to attest firsthand that Ellen is telling the truth, because I have been lucky enough to get 2 of those. The last 2 years I've participated and have donated. It's I believe it's $60, which is very affordable. And
it's $60 for a full goat.
For a full goat, yeah.
Partial goat for $10.
Exactly. And honestly, I mean, who doesn't have $60 where, you know, with the cost of food lately, you go out for dinner, you know, one night maybe,
right,
you know, instead of boozing out, you get something you feel good about around the holidays, or you know, save one night from going out to dinner and instead put it to a good cause that's going to make you feel good inside and really help someone. So on to the news then, Ellen. Thank you for that.
Okay. So there was a lawsuit that accused President Trump of violating the Constitution because he's getting money for his businesses, and they filed, it was 47 pages of an order by a judge in Maryland, and they rejected claims that they had not sufficiently alleged injuries, so the case is going to be allowed to go through. Also today, the White House did not deny that a Trump lawyer discussed pardons of some of the people who are in some big trouble with the special counsel.
And that's John Dowd, right, who recently resigned from the Trump legal team.
That's right. Exactly.
So that's pretty serious, because it's Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn, and obviously, you know, if Dowd was talking with their lawyers about potential pardons, that could have been seen as potential obstruction of justice if it was kind of like, you know, wink wink, you know, your clients don't have to give in because maybe they'll get pardoned. That would be pretty serious potentially.
It would be very, very serious, and that, you're right, could be a very big problem for the president and mainly for his attorney who just resigned. Okay, now Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook when he was in college at Harvard, he will testify before a congressional committee, the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Of course, the Senate wants him. He's not going to testify before Britain's Parliament.
Ellen, thank you so much. We are out of time, but please check out goatsfortheoldgoat.com. A really great cause. You can find many great gifts around the holidays, as Ellen mentioned, not just helping those with the goats, the actual goats, but also the Swarovski crystals that are made. Very beautiful cause. Check it out, goatsfortheoldgoat.com. That's goats, plural, for theoldgoat.com. This has been Mark Grimaldi in for Leslie Marshall, and we will be back to talk to you tomorrow. Until then, always find us on lesliemarshallshow.com or follow Leslie on Twitter at Leslie Marshall.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network, and here's a clip from Tara Buster with comedian Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com.
Republicans live to annoy liberals. I don't know why. They'd rather annoy a liberal instead of having clean drinking water, a living wage, a decent retirement. They don't want health care, I guess. This is how stupid they are. And this is why they're unfit, too. They're really unfit to hold leadership positions in a modern nation. You don't allow your child to drive, as far as getting a license to drive a car. You don't want 12-year-olds to drive a car, 13-year-olds, 14, because you don't trust them behind the wheel. Maybe they'll speed. They'll crash the goddamn car. They'll kill themselves. And maybe they'll take a bunch of people with them by accident. It's the same thing. You don't want these immature morons who, when somebody like Donald Trump stands up and starts saying Mexicans are rapists, they vote for this idiot because they're ignorant too. These people cannot be trusted with leadership positions. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have the emotional capacity. They lack the fundamental maturity to function in a democracy. So they need to be a permanent minority until they can prove that they've matured. And how do we know they're mature enough? We know it when they stop talking like racist morons. This is Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com. That was a clip from my show, Tara Buster, recorded live live every Saturday evening on the RDT Daily Facebook page and streamed simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook Live. Replayed Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern on Progressive Voices, or anytime on demand on the Progressive Voices app.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
North Korea's Kim Jong-un visited China in Kim's first trip out of his country since assuming power. Donald Trump Wednesday morning tweeting, received message last night from Xi Jinping of China that his meeting with Kim Jong-un went very well and that Kim looks forward to his meeting with me. In the meantime, and unfortunately, maximum sanctions and pressure must be maintained at all costs. At least a dozen states are suing the Trump administration over its decision to add a question to the 2020 census asking respondents if they are U.S. citizens. From CNN.
We're not going to stop, and we're going to defend every one of our rights to make sure that every one of our people who's worked hard to make California the sixth largest economy in the state is counted.
California's Attorney General suing the Trump administration over that count. The U.S. Census, the form you fill out, making sure the country has an accurate count of the people who live here. The Justice Department requesting a seemingly simple question be asked, asking, are you a U.S. citizen? California says it's much more than that, at the heart designed to cheat this anti-Trump state.
It literally diminishes our voice in our federal government and compromises our fair representation that's called for in the Constitution and in federal law. That's exactly what's at stake here.
In California, undocumented immigrants make up nearly 2 to 3 million people. And in the Trump presidency, fear in those communities has grown. Trump giving more teeth to immigration enforcement. Under Trump, arrests of non-criminal immigrants more than doubled in 2017 as compared to the year before. California's lawmakers say that deters undocumented immigrants from declaring their status on any document. Fewer people counted in California, fewer federal dollars, and potentially fewer representatives in Congress. The Trump re-election campaign endorsed the DOJ's move. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, in a letter reinstating the citizenship question on the 2020 census, writes, for the approximately 90% of the population who are citizens, this question is no additional imposition.
William Strampel, former dean of Michigan State University's College of Osteopathic Medicine and the boss of Larry Nassar, was arrested Monday for using his office to harass, discriminate, demean, sexually proposition, and sexually assault female students, according to the Michigan Attorney General's office.
It was the boss of Larry Nassar, the doctor here at MSU, the Olympic physician for all the gymnasts in this country. And what it happened is that it was this doctor who actually stood up for Larry Nassar in the Title IX complaint in 2014 and said it was a medical procedure. He wasn't sexually assaulting young women. And that doctor is what allowed MSU to say it was an approved procedure and he kept assaulting young women. One of the things that just stands out from the criminal complaint filed today is criminal sexual conduct. And according to the affidavit of probable cause, 4 young women, all female, all medical students, say that Dr. William Strampel actually groped them, propositioned them, told them, if you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor, gave them comments that they needed to dress in a more sexy manner. And the details are just striking. Additionally, we learned some background today from the special prosecutor, William Forsythe, with the Michigan Attorney General's office, that they received a tip in February. And that tip made them act quickly. And they executed a search warrant right here at Michigan State University to get Dr. Strampel's computer, electronic equipment. And one of the charges here also in regard to the misconduct has to do with pornography of women that was found on his computers. Images, some of them appearing to be selfies. Most of them, we were told, have to do with Michigan State University students, and also videos. Pornography on his computer, 37,000 images of child porn on Larry Nassar's computer.
Stormy Daniels' attorney is asking a federal judge in California for permission to depose the president and his longtime lawyer, Michael Cohen, about the non-disclosure agreement the porn actress says she signed to keep quiet about her alleged affair with Trump. In documents filed early Wednesday morning, Michael Avenatti said he was seeking to depose Trump and Cohen for no more than 2 hours each to find out whether Trump was aware of the agreement and whether he consented to it. The president, who repeatedly insisted during the campaign that Mexico would pay for a wall along the southern border, is privately pushing for the U.S. military to fund construction.
According to the Washington Post, Trump, quote, is privately pushing the U.S. military to fund construction of his signature project, suggesting the Pentagon could fund the sprawling construction, citing a national security risk. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders dodged questions about that topic earlier today.
Does he mean that he wants the military to pay for the border wall? Can you speak generally to that?
Again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of that, but I can tell you that the wall is continuing to be built currently, and we're going to keep pushing forward until it's fully completed in the way that the president feels is necessary to defend the country.
And isn't it true at this point that Mexico is just not going to pay for that wall?
I'm not going to go beyond what the president's already said. I think he still has plans to look at potential ways for that to happen.
And that's a bit of what's news for now. I'm Nicole Sandler. If you appreciate these reports and the Nicole Sandler Show, I hope you'll consider making a contribution. My work is 100% listener funded, and I can't do it without your help. Find out more at NicoleSandler.com/donate.
Mary had a little man. The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
We are going to build a great border wall. And who's going to pay for the wall?
The Pentagon.
Who's going to pay for the wall?
The military.
Who?
Department of Defense.
It'll be a great wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Mexico will pay for the wall. And Mexico's going to pay for the wall, and they understand that. Mexico is going to pay for the wall. Believe me, 100%.
He's a jackass.
He is a jackass, man. He's a lion, mean-spirited, just a mean. Everybody, they want to argue all over the Facebooks, and they want to argue in the chat rooms. They want to argue on this platform and in the Twitters. They want to. Let me just tell you something. Here's a nice, quick answer for the people that want to argue with you about this man and his lack of character, or this man and how they love him, and they're in a cult, and if they told their daughters to marry him and be subservient, they would do it. They would do it because they just love him. He's ordained by God, I tell you. Just tell them he's mean and he lies. He's mean and he's dishonest. And you know what? It's not just the dishonesty. It's the worthlessness of what he says. You can't put any value in anything he says. And what kind of a country are we when we can't put any value in anything that the President of the United States tells you is going to be your reality or is going to happen? So now he's got this new idea about this stupid wall because he knows that the Cambridge, it's all one big, nice, neat package. Cambridge Analytica did all this research on Americans. This is what Christopher Wiley was telling you, that they were shocked. This defense contractor in London was doing, a psychological profiling of Americans and using it for elections here in the United States. And what they were finding was that there were, he said it was shocking that no mainstream candidate would ever say these things, but yet they were told to test these positions, and they found out people responded very positively to visuals of people climbing over walls and being stopped. And the whole racist immigration argument that Mexicans were murderers and there was a chunk of America, about 30%, like I told you, there'll always be that, 30% of America that responded really favorably to that particular message, that rapists were Mexican and that they were drug dealers and that they were climbing over walls and that they were coming in like crazy, even though, we had net zero immigration at that point. People still were responding to it. And so Trump went out there, and this is why he opened his campaign that day. Remember that day in Trump Tower? And the very first thing out of his mouth were Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers, and some of them, I guess, are nice people. Do you know? That's why it was all given to him by a British defense contractor who spun themselves off into a seemingly American company with the Mercer's money and, incorporated the election arm of the defense contractor, the foreign defense contractor in the UK, in Delaware. They made a little company, a shell company, to present to people if they ever got caught as being an American company, but they're not. They're not. And they were even warned. You know, it's so funny how the media finally catches up with us. Didn't I tell you, I guess it was like last week all the days blend together now, right? But didn't I tell you that a guy named Lawrence Levy, I keep saying, I know him from high school. Hi, Larry, right? From Bracewell, Giuliani. I don't really know him. I'm just saying, he sounds like a guy I probably went to high school with because I went to school with Lawrence Levy, Larry Levy, all the Levys. I know them all. You know, we all know each other. Just like the white supremacists think, it's true. We all know each other. It's a joke, you freaks. All right, so Lawrence Levy worked for Bracewell Giuliani, and, Bracewell Giuliani was posing as some, security company for the protection of American data. Ha! Anyway, Larry Levy was working at Bracewell Giuliani, and Bracewell Giuliani obviously knew about this Cambridge Analytica plot and about the psychological profiling of American people and about using the data that was vacuumed up from Facebook apps without any audit by Facebook about your data being vacuumed up as being somebody who took the psychological test to find out, what's your personality color? Or what's your 60s song? Or what song are you in general? All those stupid, which Sex and the City character are you? Are you a Samantha or are you a Carrie? And idiots on the internet actually took that and they built these psychological now, only about 300,000 people did it. But because they were vacuuming out it was your information that you gave this app, right? But they were also vacuuming out all your friends' information and your friends' information. And therefore, you see how you could scale up real quick to 50 million American people and psychological profiles. And the way that psychological profiles are built these days, I mean, good God, if you look at, go look at the homework section today, because some of this should scare the bejesus out of you. We decided that we were going to find out, how much data does Facebook really have about me, about Scotty. Brett's been busy, so he hasn't found his file yet. But they're on the website, in the articles about Google knows everything about you. There's a little link inside that article. You can get your data file now. You can actually get your data file and find out all the things that Google knows about you, all the things that Facebook knows about you. I mean, Scotty did his, and they sent him a zip file. I mean, that's how big these freaking files is. How long did it take you to download it? 25 minutes?
Yeah, it took about 25, 30 minutes.
Okay, check this out. You know how much data we deal in every single day? Audio is a big chunk of data. Just if we only provided the audio portion of the show, that'd be a lot of data. But we provide video too now. And the data is so humongous, and yet we can up and download our data in seconds. In seconds. It took 25 minutes for that zip file on Scotty's entire folder about every single thing that Facebook and Google knew about. Let me tell you something. They know every email you've ever written. You Gmail people, you crack me up. You crack me up. Well, because everybody thinks Gmail is private, and it's not. Not only can they read your email, which they're not interested in doing per se, but they can actually mine it for information about where you shop or what you're talking about or what your interests are. They look for keywords in your email. This is how you're getting advertising that is completely tailored to you. And it's not just ads about sneakers, and it's not just ads about blouses, and it's not just ads about the most comfortable bra ever created. That will actually stay up, which is my issue. Because I am a 38 long, you see. Oh, go deal with it. So they can mine all your Gmail, and they have all Scotty's emails. They have every email. They have every phone call he ever made, every text message he ever sent. They have every I mean, this is just crazy. Every photo he ever posted in his life. This file is so freaking frightening, okay? It's so scary. And you know what's going to happen? I was reading an article today. I didn't include it in the homework. I'll find it again and I'll post it for tomorrow. It should be like 2 days worth of talk show because the article was written by data scientists and philosophers and people who study data and the effect of big data on our society and in general the world, you know. And you know what the conclusion was? It's very simple. The conclusion was that because of the fake news and the fact that fake news is responded to more often favorably than real news. This goes back to that old movie Network. I love that movie about Howard Beale. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Guess what they found out? When they started programming to angry people on the TV in Howard Beale's day, in that movie written by Patty Chayefsky all those years ago, I think it was 1976, okay? And I didn't understand that movie until I was in broadcasting. And I watched it again. And I was like, oh, my God. All right. What they found out is you could read all the headlines, you know, like Manafort had Russian intelligence ties during 2016 campaign. Prosecutors say bipartisan Senate duo calls on Trump to back off Mueller. Fact check, has citizenship been a standard census question? Answers no. You know, And I swear to God, if you put up there, Hillary Clinton ran child pedophilia ring out of Washington pizza place, that's going to get clicked on more than the real news. And what's going to happen to us is well, it already has. This is why America is in tribal mode, meaning everybody's in their own camp. I mean, you've got fake news, you've got fake radio, you've got fake newspapers. The Washington Times is now being sued by, what's his name? Seth Rich's brother, Aaron Rich. Fox News is being sued by Seth Rich's brother, Aaron Rich, and the Rich family because of the propaganda they spread about a kid who was murdered on the street in Washington, D.C. I mean, just the garbage that they spread and the conspiracy theories that they created out of this poor guy who was out, you know, buying something in a store and never came home. You know, they just went crazy on it. And people love the fake stuff. They love it more than they love the real stuff because the real stuff, you have to actually sit there, read, take in, think, analyze, and decide. Based on the facts you just took in, how would you, A, process the problem, B, solve the problem, C, decide that the problem doesn't need fixing, whatever your proclivity is, right? But you have to read the real facts. Well, people don't. And the conclusion of this frightening thing about big data is that we're going to get very tired very soon of yelling at each other. You know why? It's just not that satisfying. It's just not that satisfying. And we're going to literally turn on each other violently, which is why the Second Amendment freaks out there mangle that amendment and today, oh my God, guess what I found out? This is a stunning thing. Oh my God, I can hardly make myself form the words to tell you about this hideous statistic. 49% of Americans don't know what the Second Amendment is. They don't know what it is. They don't even know it has anything to do with guns. They don't know it has anything to do with a militia. They don't know what a preservation of freedom. They don't know anything about it. Just like no one knows the third, right? Except for me. No one knows the third. Some people, you know, there are lawyers out there that can't tell you, you know, how many times the Constitution's been amended. 17. Just saying. But there are lawyers out there that don't know that. But these people who have definite opinions about the Second Amendment, giving them an individual right to own an Uzi, they don't even know which amendment it is. And if you say the Second Amendment, they don't know what the Second Amendment says or is or what. Holy crap. So this is not going to end well for us unless we actually get serious about kicking down the road the fake stuff. Seriously, getting rid of it, legislating around it, legislating that if you're going to do fake stuff on the TV, you can't call yourself news, which I've been screaming about since 99? You cannot sit on the TV and brand yourself news and pretend that you're news when really what you have are models wearing Christian Louboutin shoes as like candy. You know, it's like the little breadcrumbs in the leading you to Hansel and Gretel's cottage or whatever that story is. You know, I mean, you can't brand yourself. We have to have some standards. We have to have some practices. You cannot lie. I've had this one in my head for the longest time. If you are using your position, your official position as a government or a duly elected candidate, as a representative of people of a state, like if you're a House member or if you're a senator or if you're the president of the United States and you're standing behind the podium, okay, if you not the campaign rallies, but if you're standing in the White House briefing room, if you're standing at the podium, if you're using the presidential seal and you're standing behind it and you are acting in your capacity as president of the United States, you're under oath. You're under oath. I have wanted that for the longest time because I got to tell you, this man, you know, with the wall thing, he was told what performed well for the American, for his portion of the electorate, what they were responding to. And it wouldn't apply to the rallies, okay? So he could still say, we're going to build a wall. Who's going to pay for it? Mexico. But as president, he can't continue the charade. Now, the president thinks he's king. And we have a president who doesn't understand the Constitution or how money is allocated, that the president can't move money around. Only Congress can do that. And he wants to take the money that he just appropriated to the Pentagon, which was an awful big amount, and claw that money back and pay for the wall. And he's saying that as president.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams introduces its Spring 2018 home collection of classic, modern, and new traditional silhouettes in a vivid spectrum of colors, textures, patterns, and prints. The new spring collection features a modern slant with clean-lined and comfortable styles that pay tribute to iconic American designs from the mid-century to the late 1970s. Experience the new collection in comfort at a signature store near you or peruse the entire collection in e-catalog online. Find a store and shop online at mgbwhome.com. Join the Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams Comfort Club, a customer loyalty program that offers you 20% savings every day with exclusive access to special member-only offers and services like complimentary in-home design. It's free. It's easy to join. Sign up now. Start saving today at a Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams signature store near you or online at mgbwhome.com.
You're listening to the Progressive Voices Network, and here's a clip from Tara Buster with comedian Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com.
Rex Tillerson, he gives a speech to a farewell speech to the State Department, and he tells all of the employees, this is a mean-spirited town, very mean-spirited. Each of us gets to choose the person we want to be, and the way we want to be treated and the way we treat others. Oh, poor baby. Coming from people who cheered and celebrated when they stripped health care from millions of their fellow Americans. That's who they are. And they're whining. Oh, it's such a mean-spirited town. It's only mean-spirited to them when they get what's coming to them. Then it's mean. Then it's unfair. And that's how Trump talks. Jared Kushner. Oh, it's so unfair. Just let him get away with being a traitor. It's so unfair when you accuse Jared of all the things that he's done. They're such whiny little bitches. I'm sorry, I had to say it. They were traitors long before they got into public office. These are traitors because they're weak. They're weak. And they're vulnerable because of their weaknesses. They're greedy little bitches and also whiny. And I don't know what's worse, really. This is Tara Devlin from RDTDaily.com. That was a clip from my show, Tara Buster, recorded live every Saturday evening on the RDT Daily Facebook page, and streamed simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook Live. Replayed Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern on Progressive Voices, or anytime on demand on the Progressive Voices app. Support RDT Daily and the Progressive Voices Network. Remember, we stick together, we win.
I remember as a kid, the stereotypical things associated with girls were cooking, cleaning, fashion, interior design, anything to do with children, hair, makeup. But as an adult, I realize that the top earners in all of these professions are men. How did this happen? Well, it's one of the conversations we're going to have on my new show called She Persisted. I'm your host, Melissa Carter, and as a media personality, a lesbian, a single mom, and a patient with a chronic disease, I can tell you, I certainly have some opinions. And I know that you do too. So let's be part of each other's lives and talk these things out on She Persisted. It's at 8 a.m. on the East on the Progressive Voices Network and on demand on the Progressive Voices app. I would really love for you to be part of the show because I believe that together we can go from She Persisted to She Thrived. I hope you'll join me.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the census decision here. A lot of critics have concerns that including the citizenship question will discourage immigrants from participating. Can you talk us through how the government is going to address those concerns?
Look, this is a question that's been included in every census since 1965, with the exception of 2010 when it was removed. We've contained this question that's provided data that's necessary for the Department of Justice to protect voters and specifically to help us better comply with the Voting Rights Act, which is something that is important and a part of this process. And again, this is something that has been part of the census for decades and something that the Department of Commerce felt strongly needed to be included again.
Okay, so what is she talking about? Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of Commerce, he wants to include in the census a question on whether or not you are a U.S. citizen. The census is not, supposed to be a divisive thing. The census is simply a head count. Period. End of story. That's all it's supposed to be, a head count, because it decides your congressional representation. It decides allocation of federal dollars. It decides, how many people live in your district, how many people live in your state, all these things, and resources are divided accordingly. Now, I want to just play this for you one little time, not the whole thing, just a little portion to show you. And this is what I'm talking about. She should be under oath. Why? Because she's standing in the presidential briefing room, right? And she's using the official cover of the presidency as her backdrop. She says the press secretary for the president of the United States speaks for the president. And that's why Sarah Sanders needs to be under oath every day.
I want to talk a little bit about the census decision here. A lot of critics have concerns that including the citizenship question will discourage immigrants from participating. Can you talk us through how the government is going to address those concerns?
Look, this is a question that's been included in every census since 1965.
Anybody? There was no census in 1965. Censuses are only done in every 10 years. 1965 is the fifth year of a decade, not a 10th year. Oh my God, it would be done in 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 2000, 2010, and the next one, 2020. It's been included in every census since 1965. Here's the problem, Sarah. There was no census in 1965. Also, it is unconstitutional to ask that question in a census. Here, poor Steve Ducey was so upset when he asked Judge Andrew Napolitano whether or not you could ask that question. And he had to tell him, no.
All right, what about this California census question? It's going to be put back on the census. Are you a citizen? Yes or no? Democrats in California up in arms about this. They're suing.
Okay,
the
so
Trump
Congress has not yet voted on whether or not they want this in the census. Remember,
they have to sign off on it?
Yes, they have to sign off. They're supposed to sign off on it by Saturday, but they're not in session this week, and they're not in session next week. They'll eventually sign off on it. Guess what? You have a right to remain silent. The census taker comes to your door, you say, bye-bye. I'm here, I'm alive, one person, 5 people in the house, leave us alone.
But you are obligated to answer it truthfully.
Yes, if you answer, you have to answer truthfully. If you don't answer, you don't answer because you have the right to remain silent. I don't know where
How will
this
they
is
know
gonna
if
go.
you check? I'm a citizen and you're really not. How will they know? Because there's no record of them.
Correct. I don't know where this is going to go. I understand why the government wants to know this. California is practically seceding from the Union. You guys are about to do a piece on Orange County practically seceding from California.
Right.
Where does this end?
All right. The U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, judges.
Yeah.
I'll finish that. Requires the census count everyone in the U.S.
Count. Not ask how many toilets you have or what your ethnic background is, but count how many people live in the house.
Even if they're here illegally.
Yes.
So the Constitution might be on California's side?
Yes.
Look how disappointed they are. Disappointed. We wanted to target every single person that said that they weren't a citizen and deport them. We want to deport them. See, this is why Trump wants this stupid wall, which will do absolutely nothing to prevent anything that you might be concerned about. Some of us aren't concerned at all. That would be me. However, that wall will do absolutely nothing to do anything if you care about the drugs, the fentanyl that comes by mail from China. It will do absolutely nothing for that. It will do absolutely nothing for, anything that you care about. I don't know. The net immigration into this country from Mexico is zero. They go home, they come back, we go there, they come here. It's zero. But, okay, so why is he more concerned with the wall than he is with DACA? Well, because... Listen, the president of the United States right now could change his mind about DACA. He could. I'll tell you, the courts are not on his side. The courts are on the side of people who self-reported, signed up for the deferred action for childhood arrivals protections, and that they were having the rug pulled out from under them by this president who just, unitarily said, oh, no, we're going to deport them. The court said, no, you're not. So there is court protection for the people who are protected by DACA. But there's nothing in law to protect them. There's nothing. And the president, with his Republican House and his Republican Senate and his Republican ass, and then the one that sits beside him, you can figure out which ass that is. He could actually do whatever he wants to do on DACA. He could rescind it. He could make it law. No, he doesn't want to. He wants to deport people. And he also wants to gerrymander. See, gerrymandering 2.0 is going to be all about data. It's going to be all about figuring out where there's a large population of Latinos who tend to vote Democratic because they're very hip to the fact that this man pulled out from under them their DACA protection, African Americans for whom the Second Amendment never works. What do you mean? What do I mean? Philando Castile, he had a concealed carry permit. He was allowed to have a gun. And when he told that police officer on the side of the road that he had a legal gun, that he was a permitted holder of a gun, and that, he wanted the police officer to know that seconds later, they blow him away. Didn't work for him. Alton Sterling, he had a .38 in his pocket, and he was laying flat on the ground with a police officer on top of him, like on the torso, thereby blocking any ability for the hands to go from where the cop's legs were straddling his neck all the way down to his pocket, unavailable because police officer on top of you will prevent you from getting in your pocket. They blew him away too. And in fact, that whole thing with Alton Sterling started with the police officer putting the gun to his head and saying he was going to blow him away like a bitch. So the Second Amendment doesn't work for African Americans. DACA doesn't work for, the dreamers who self-report. Nothing works anymore, you understand? Nothing works. And it's because the president, his word means nothing. His word doesn't mean a thing. Congress needs to act, and they won't. And it's probably because they also got this data from Cambridge Analytica. They also got money, I'm sure, from Bolton's Super PAC, which was a wholly, created to receive the data from Cambridge Analytica. This is so, and let me tell you something about the wall. If Donald Trump hires John Bolton as the national security advisor, you are going to need military all over the world. So how does this man have the temerity to say, I'm going to siphon money off from the military. I'm going to siphon money off from the Pentagon, which constitutionally he's prohibited from doing. He can't appropriate money. The president can't spend a nickel. President can't spend a dime. I've told you this a million times. It's basic stuff. But he thinks he can. And he wants to take money from the military and use it to build this ridiculous wall. Why? Because he played you for suckers, and some people are getting real hip to it. He didn't get his wall money in this budget bill that just passed. He didn't get it. It's not there. They gave him a couple of bucks for border security to fix a couple of fences. That's what they gave him. And they specifically said, and these are the Republicans, they specifically said that none of the money being appropriated for the repair of these fences could be used, not a penny, for his stupid wall. This man played you for such a freaking rube. And I told you he was, but you didn't want to believe me. You needed to go through it yourself. So now I'm glad you've gone through it yourself. But he tweeted now. He tweeted. Twitler is out there going, the military is rich. The military is rich. It's the U.S. Armed Forces, not the mercenaries of Eric Prince. It's not a private company. The military is rich. See, this is why he kept saying, we're going to have the strongest, biggest, baddest, while he's telling you he will never, Iraq was such a bad mistake. Meanwhile, he hires John Bolton, who to this day says Iraq was worth it. He says to this minute, with all the evidence to the contrary, John Bolton says Iraq was worth it. We should have done it. We should have gone after Iran too. Bomb Iran. Now he wants to bomb North Korea. This is just insanity. This is crazy. And you're going to need a military all over the world now. And Trump wants to siphon money off of the military, who he says, in quotes, is rich. The military. I'm telling you, you need to have the president under oath whenever he uses the official office of the presidency to tell people things. Sarah's got to be under oath. She's using, it's the only solution, and it's a simple one, and it's a clean one, and it's an easily understood one, and it's an easily legislated one. I'm not saying it should be for all political speech. Political speech is the most protected speech. God knows I know, because this is how I defend myself from many, many, many people coming after me, including $11 billion worth of defense contractors coming after me. Okay, so I know political speech is protected, but you also, if you tell the truth, it's a complete defense, which is what was found in my case. She told the truth, you got no case, right? But it's amazing how the president just sends these people out who are his spokespeople, or looks to Fox News to find Joe DeGeneva, who's supposed to join his legal team because he likes what Joe DeGeneva is saying. He likes the lie that Joe DeGeneva perpetrates on the American people. If this is why Joe DeGeneva can't take the job, okay? Joe DeGeneva can't take the job because Joe DeGeneva is conflicted. Joe DeGeneva can't prove anything that he says on Fox News. His wife actually, they're law partners in the same law firm, and his wife represents Mark Carollo, who was like Jared Kushner's, errand boy, and he's the one that said Hope Hicks was plotting to obstruct justice on the plane when Donald Trump wrote that letter excusing Junior's Russian meeting in Trump Tower. That's who Carollo is. And Victoria Tensing, who's Joe DeGeneva's wife, she's representing him. So how does Joe DeGeneva have the nerve to sit there on the TV?
It suggests, as we've said from the beginning, that there was a brazen plot to illegally exonerate Hillary Clinton, and if she didn't win the election, to then frame Donald Trump with a falsely created crime. Everything that we have seen from these texts, and from all the facts developing, shows that the FBI and senior DOJ officials conspired to violate the law and to deny Donald Trump his civil rights.
What would be the motive for that?
The motive would be that they didn't like Donald Trump, they didn't think he was fit to be president, and they were going to do everything within their power to exonerate Hillary Clinton, and if she lost, to frame Donald Trump with a false crime because they didn't think he should be president.
This is a man who had his national security advisor plead guilty to lying to the special prosecutor about his business deals and his conversations with Russians during the campaign, during the transition, and during his tenure as national security advisor to the president of the United States. This is a man whose campaign manager is preparing for trial for like 30 counts of Russian money laundering and being a foreign agent the whole time he's, running Donald Trump's campaign. This is a man whose partner, Rick Gates, was kept in the transition team, on the transition team, who is now connected to, this is through this Dutch guy, who we couldn't figure out, why did Mueller prosecute this Dutch attorney who worked for Skadden Arps? Turns out he lied to Mueller about proof that he had phone calls, emails, recorded conversations between Manafort, Rick Gates, and Russian intelligence operatives. So if Joe DeGeneres wants to sit on TV and lie, he's more than, free to do so in today's current environment. But he couldn't possibly be Trump's lawyer because he can't prove any of that.
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
Randi Rhodes, Air Force.
Herky Jerky has a screaming case of March Madness, so let the games begin. Try Herky Jerky's delicious game jerky and meat sticks. All Herky Jerky staples for more than 25 years. They're talking about their famous buffalo, elk, and venison, which contains less fat and carbs than beef. And because theirs are farm-raised and grass-fed, they don't have that woodsy taste like some of the other kinds. If you've never had buffalo, elk, or venison meat, it's time to give it a try. They are healthy, they are tasty, and this month, all of the game jerky packs are $5 off. The venison sticks come in hot and mild, and they were once voted best in the country at a major food show on the West Coast, and from that point on, it's been their best-selling item. Whether you're already a fan of game meat or have never tried it, now's the time to take advantage of the savings. $5 off all month long and free shipping with 2 packs or more of anything in the store, including the beef, the bacon, and the turkey, too. No promo code needed. Just try some today. Go to herkyjerky.com.
Hey, Progressive Voices listeners, I'm Rebecca Vallis, host of Off Kilter, the show about poverty, inequality, and everything they intersect with. Earlier this week, Senator Bernie Sanders joined forces with Senator Elizabeth Warren and documentarian Michael Moore to host a town hall on inequality in America. Sharing the stage was Derek Hamilton, professor of economics and urban policy at the New School, and he joined Off Kilter this week to continue the conversation from the town hall. You can find the full episode on the PV app or at progressivevoices.com. Let's take a listen.
This is the culmination of a dream. I guess I've worked very hard to try to come up with policies and understanding of inequality, and have the opportunity to sit on that stage with giants was an honor and a privilege.
Was there any good green room talk you can divulge with you, me, and maybe just a few thousand listeners?
I mean, I would say that, someone asked me the question later, what are they like in real life? They are they are exactly like you would picture them. So the image that they elude on TV and in other forums, it's really how they are. So they have authenticity that I think is something that should be praised and recognized.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, because I had to ask those questions, let's get into some policy, because I'm a nerd, you're a nerd. Let's go there. One of the things that came up just a little bit in the town hall, and there was a lot to be discussed, and so there wasn't a ton of space for individual policy problems and solutions. But one of the things that came up was something that we are hearing more and more about in Washington and in policy circles, and really even in the mainstream media these days than I can remember. And that's the idea of a job guarantee. Tell us a little bit, what is a job guarantee? What does that mean? And then I would love to hear you share a little bit about why you think we're at a point now where we're seeing all kinds of support in a mainstream way for what used to be viewed as an extremely radical policy.
A job guarantee is exactly how it sounds. It literally would be guaranteed employment to anyone who desires to work. Some of the goals of a job guarantee would be to eliminate working poverty altogether, which in my view is an oxymoron to begin with. No one working should be poor. Another goal of a federal job guarantee is literally to get rid of involuntary unemployment.
Thanks for listening. For more Off Kilter, find us on the Progressive Voices Network and as a podcast on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at Off Kilter Show and at Facebook.com/Off Kilter Show.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
That tweet this weekend, does he mean that he wants the military to pay for the border wall? Can you speak generally to that?
Again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of that, but I can tell you that the wall is continuing to be built currently, and we're going to keep pushing forward until it's fully completed in the way that the president feels is necessary to defend the country.
And isn't it true at this point that Mexico is just not going to pay for that wall?
I'm not going to go beyond what the president's already said. I think he still has plans to look at potential ways for that to happen.
Oh, my God. That's what I'm saying. She must be under oath. She must be under oath. This is crazy. We get lied to every single day. Reporters who do the real job of gathering facts and reporting them out to you so you can analyze them, figure out where in the world you are, what you'd like to see America look like, what you'd like to see America act like, what you'd like to see as far as legislation on things that matter to you, like, I don't know, $15 minimum wage or repealing the Second Amendment or creating a background checks, whatever. Just if you know the facts, if you actually get real news, real information, then you can orient yourself into the real world that you truly are living in and do something that makes a difference for you, your kids, your life, whatever. But meanwhile, what we have is a bunch of lying sacks of crap where she said, well, he still has ideas about Mexico paying for the wall. Mexico will never pay for the wall. It isn't going to happen. And he did tweet that he wants the money he wants to take the money from the military and he wants to build his freaking wall. You know why? Because that big, beautiful wall that he pledges to build over a 2,000-mile border wall with Mexico turned into nothing in this this budget. He got 25 miles of new wall with 8 miles of new fencing. And in the budget bill, it specifies, quote, none of this increment can be built using any of the prototype designs. He can't. So he's trying to siphon money off from our military. I thought he loved the military. He loved the troops. I thought, they all love the troops. They love them, until they see us as, bankable. Unbelievable. He threatened punishment for sanctuary cities. Not in there. He wanted 1,000 new immigration and customs enforcement agents. He got enough money to hire 100 people. 100. And the proviso is they all be administrative or support personnel working in offices. Not one of these 100 that they funded will be in the field because we don't have a problem. He wanted a 20% increase for funding for detention centers. Congress not only refused to authorize an extra penny, but they went so far as to rebuke ICE for overspending its current detention budget. This is a man who said he was going to separate women and children, and he's doing it. He truly is doing it. There are stories out there, if you want to go find them, that are about women and children who are apprehended by ICE coming into the country, fleeing a freaking drug war in El Salvador that we caused, that we actually caused. Guns are illegal in Mexico. Anybody has a AK in Mexico came from us, came from the United States. So you got this crazy drug war going on in Central America. These people are risking their lives, sleeping on the tops of trains that are going all through Central America, trying to get through Mexico, trying to get into the United States. And then we apprehend a mother and her child who may have already been raped, who may have already had their lives threatened, who may have already had to sell, the morsels of food they had just to get through it. And then we apprehend them and we put the daughter will go to Michigan and the mother will go to Arizona. And they don't even know if they're alive. This is Holocaust stuff, okay? And so that's why Congress rebuked ICE for overspending on their current detention budget. Ann Coulter saw this budget. Ann Coulter tweeted, "Congratulations, President Schumer." She felt so ripped off on the whole immigration issue because he got nothing. He got nothing. The Democrats got more of their spending priorities than the Republicans did. I mean, if I told you that the president just signed a piece of legislation, a budget for the new year, that didn't do anything to build that wall, but funded fully Planned Parenthood, you'd say I was crazy. But that's what happened. It's real. He hasn't offered anything more than symbolic little crumbs to these people he plays for pure suckers. Some of these people will actually sit there and go, well, we never thought that he meant he was really going to build a wall. We didn't believe most of the crazy stuff he said during the campaign. But the xenophobia and the racism, it seems so sincere. How could we not? How could we not throw our support behind him? He was just sufficiently racist. Now, it's trickling down to our children on things like guns. Trying to have a conversation last night on CNN The Kids about guns, and it degenerates instantly into you're a racist by a pro-gun guy.
Race affects the way that people live, they eat, where they go to school, and all of this is there are factors in violence and inner city violence. With those students who were at the march, we're talking about from Baltimore, from Chicago. Until we want to talk about the root causes, the conversation will never be complete, and we won't get to the bottom of it.
Chicago and Baltimore, to my recollection, have some of the strictest gun laws in the country.
But don't you think the guns come in from the surrounding Indiana, from the surrounding states?
They have relaxed gun laws. That's how they're able to get them.
And the left also wants open borders, and this will allow illegal guns to flood into the country.
Wait a minute, but do you think the guns come in from Indiana, as police say they do in Illinois?
I don't know where they're coming from.
I think it's a problem that you say you don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, let me pause it there because this is the only sensical part. It gets very nonsensical very quickly. As you can see, Mr. Pro-Gun student is sitting there, just segueing from one topic to another. He says, well, as I recall, to my recollection, Baltimore and Chicago have very strict gun laws, and they got the most gun violence. And, of course, when Allison Camerata says, well, but that's because they are surrounded by very pro-gun states where, it takes 5 seconds. Nobody's got any restrictions on how many guns they can sell to an individual at one time. And so you can go in and you could buy, 400 guns and then drive them into Chicago and, sell them on the street on the black market. You can do the same thing in Baltimore from surrounding places that have very lax gun laws. Most of the guns in Chicago can be traced to Indiana. Most of the guns in Chicago could be traced to Wisconsin. You know what I mean? And so he goes, well, I don't know where they're coming from, but hey, what about immigration? They're flooding in here. I mean, just changing the subject completely because in his mind, crime equals brown. Brown people commit crime, and white people need guns to protect themselves from the brown people. This is what Donald Trump sold. This is why he said they were rapists. Now, most rapists are white people. Most mass murderers are white people. Most serial killers are white people. So, I mean, this stuff is literally trickling down to our kids. And remember, the Second Amendment does not work. Does not work for African-American men. Doesn't work for Alton Sterling. Doesn't work for Philando Castile. Doesn't work. No. The sad thing about Stephen Clark, he was unarmed. So he doesn't even come into this conversation. And he's dead too because the cell phone seemed like a gun. Now, you've got black men literally being, I don't know if they're being hunted, but they invoke this fear into police officers because of this crazy talk about Chicago and Baltimore being these, just what Donald Trump said, these horrible neighborhoods where you walk down the street and you get shot. You just get shot. What do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? Your neighborhoods are war zones. Most black people are middle class, I just want to say. But poverty does definitely play a toll, put a toll on people. And so, yeah, they might shoplift a little more often, mostly for food. That's number one. And number two, if you know that you're a target, why wouldn't you want to have a gun? Same philosophy at play, except now the brown people need the gun. Why? Because the brown people are being hunted. Just saying, but it doesn't work for brown people. Second Amendment doesn't work. You could actually tell a police officer, as a brown person, like Philando Castile did, that he's got a legally owned a firearm in the car, just wants to let you know, and end up dead in seconds. Got a gun, got a gun, got a gun, got a gun. He never reached for the gun. And we know that because his death was streamed live on freaking Facebook. All right, so now the conversation really degenerates.
You should know where these guns are coming from.
Do you know exactly where they're coming from? Why don't you want to have good guys with guns to protect you from criminals that are getting their weapons illegally?
Who is carrying out these mass shootings?
Okay,
young white men.
Yes. Now you're a racist. Why are you attacking white people?
That's the statistic. You're a racist. Why are you attacking white people? Because the fact is that most school shooters are white. It's just a fact. Most serial killers are too. And this is what the topic of discussion is: keeping kids safe in school.
It's just a fact. What about
it's just a fact?
What about Omar Mateen, though?
Okay.
It's race.
There are exceptions to the rule, but school shooters generally are young white men.
Yes.
Okay, and they're also pumped up on meds too.
We cannot solely just.
They're pumped up on meds too. Was Dylan Roof pumped up on meds when he went into an African-American church and sat with those people for hours while they tried to heal him and tell him whatever his issues were, it would all be okay? They got him. They loved him. Come on in. And then he just shot them one at a time, just shot them all. I mean, really, he was hopped up on, I don't even know what, this kid is exposed to so much trash. You want to talk about the deleterious effects of video games, which the whole world plays? No, it isn't video game. This is real life, and they're really being lied to by a real president.
Say that it's mental illness. We're arming hate in our country. If we had more armed guards in our school, again, it would perpetuate the school to prison pipeline. We have to be cognizant.
And how would it do that? Just help me understand the logic.
Because,
if you're treated like a criminal, you're going to act like a criminal.
Exactly. And this mindset, the way that we are socialized in schools as being seen as criminals, as being black bodies, then that is going to contribute to your way of life.
I'm not white, I'm not black, but I am a person of color. And I don't feel comfortable. I'm walking around and I'm looking at these cops and I'm like, do they think I'm up to something because of the color of my skin? And that's how all of my friends that are black in my school feel. And I don't receive the same airtime as some of my friends, and because I'm not white.
Stop playing the race card. You're racist.
We shouldn't use white privilege as a dirty word. It is what it is. White privilege comes out in structural racism.
You're racist.
Why can't they talk about their experience?
Well,
because we're not allowed to.
I don't. Why are you guys attacking white people so much?
We're not attacking white people. Affected by a system that we built. We're talking about racism that white people implemented into this country.
Anyone can be racist.
Affected
anyone cannot like someone because.
Let me say something. When you have 20% of a population, the entire United States population, committing 50% of the homicides, that's not just you are the victims. That's also your part of the issue. When you have 20% of a race committing 50% of the violent crimes, that's no longer okay.
I don't know where they're getting this. This is so bizarre, and it's so ugly, and it's so false. And, listen, 61% of all homicides in the United States, unsolved. Unsolved. Only 30% of homicides are ever solved. And they're making these statements. You're a racist. Why are you picking on white people? Because white people built a system in which black children are not suspended or given detention, but they go to prison because black children are treated like criminals, because every black parent has to have a conversation with their black son or daughter about, the talk about, you have to be extremely polite when a police officer pulls you over. You have to keep your hands in full view when a police officer pulls. You could end up dead in 2 seconds. I mean, if you target black people with everything from not giving a bank loan to own your own home, or a bank loan to build your own business, or you target them with violence, by the police, and you never prosecute the police for that violence perpetrated. Wouldn't they want guns? Wouldn't you think they'd be the first people saying, I want a gun, I need to protect myself, I'm targeted all the time as a black person, they follow me around in the store and blah, blah, blah. But they don't. Know why? They're bigger. They know what it feels like, and they want that threat removed, not redistributed.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandyRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
The implications of living in the nation's oil and gas capital became all too clear after Hurricane Harvey slammed Houston last August.
Hurricane Harvey's toxic legacy much worse than publicly revealed. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt gives another gift to the auto industry. Plus,
I will never sign another bill like this again. I'm not going to do it again.
Massive omnibus bill has good news for national parks, firefighting, and a tiny village in Alaska.
All of that surprising good news and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
This is all you really need to know about climate change. Number one, it's real. Number two, man-made emissions caused it. And number three, that's why women need to rule the world.
Man Slam. This is your Green News Report.
I'm sick of cleaning up after you guys.
Okay, Desi Doyen, so the Hurricane Harvey response wasn't quite as impressive as Donald Trump pretended?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. 6 months after Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, Texas, and shattered the record for the largest single deluge ever recorded in U.S. history, a massive study of county, state, and federal records conducted by the Associated Press and the Houston Chronicle has found that Harvey had a much more widespread toxic impact than has been previously made public. The reporters cataloged more than 100 releases of more than a dozen toxic chemicals and carcinogens that were released into neighborhoods and waterways. Yet officials at the time assured the public that the post-storm pollution posed little to no health threat. The analysis found only a handful of these industrial spills have been investigated by federal regulators, and state regulators have taken no enforcement actions at all for these toxic releases. Meanwhile, a heads up, Bloomberg News reports that Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt will soon begin the formal process of aggressively weakening fuel economy standards that were set under the Obama administration. This would be for new vehicles starting in 2022, and to which automakers had already agreed to do back in 2012.
I guess this is because Trump voters enjoy paying more for their gas?
Yes, apparently so. These standards would have decreased air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions and saved consumers money, but now they won't, thanks to intense lobbying from the U.S. auto industry. And Pruitt also indicated that he may try to strip the state of California of its special waiver to maintain tougher air pollution standards under the Clean Air Act, which a number of states have also adopted.
California is not, the arbiter of these issues.
the EPA, the DOT, and others make those decisions. California contributes as well, but that shouldn't and can't dictate to the rest of the country what these levels are going to be.
I feel like I remember this story, have seen it before. This is what happened when the George W. Bush administration came in, and they challenged California's more stringent environmental protection standards, and they won at the time in the Supreme Court. We finally turned that back, but now it looks like the same old fight again.
That is exactly what happened in the past, and it looks like the federal government now is going to participate in switching the rules back and forth again.
And if you have any questions about this, go see the movie Who Killed the Electric Car? We had an electric car way back in the 90s called the EV1 that everybody liked who had one, and the Bush administration helped kill that. And, well, everything old and stupid is new and being done all over again, I guess.
Meanwhile, Trump's Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke has launched a new outdoor recreation advisory panel to make recommendations on public lands policy. And he's stocked it with industry representatives who have a financial interest in public lands. Washington Post reports that many of the 16 members of the new committee come from the motorized recreation vehicle industry. Other members have advocated for privatizing park services, while others represent companies with National Park Service contracts. Not on the advisory panel are anyone from the Outdoor Industry Association, which advocates for non-motorized activities like hiking and kayaking. But finally, some good news. The massive $1.3 trillion omnibus bill that President Trump signed last week over his own objections not only retains the current budget of the EPA and retains clean energy policies as is, it also includes a big boost to the budget of the National Park Service to make much-needed infrastructure repairs. Also, a boost for the Forest Service's firefighting and fire prevention budget, which has long been sought by conservation and forestry groups in the wake of record wildfire seasons across the nation. Also in the omnibus bill, and also very good news, a tiny town in Alaska that is threatened by climate change has finally received some federal funding to relocate. The small village of Newtok, Alaska, has been losing 70 feet of land every year due to sea level rise and coastal erosion. Congress has now appropriated $15 million to begin relocating Newtok to a safer location 9 miles inland. It's only a fraction of what's required to relocate the whole village, but it's a start.
I'll take it. For much more on all of those reports and the ones we couldn't get to today, please check out our website at greennews.bradblog.com. I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
And this has been your Green News Report.
Please help Progressive Voices support the Green News Report by stopping by bradblog.com/donate.
Mary had a little lamb. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey! It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
You want racism? I'll show you racism. I'll show you why these kids are the way they are. And it's because their parents are listening to swill like this.
Authoritarianism is always about youth marches. Here we go.
Meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt eine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dass ich gearbeitet habe, Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit, du jetzt eine Stimme ab. Für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingesetzt bin.
Okay, for those of you who can't see, that's David Hogg on stage at the March for Our Lives, overdubbed with Hitler. This is Alex Jones' entire wheelhouse, promoting racism, hatred for others, conspiracy theories. I think these kids need to bring a defamation lawsuit against this man and take him for everything he's worth. If Michael Cohen can say every time that Stormy Daniels' attorney defends her and says that the president is lying when he says he never had sex, well, that whatever it is, and that Michael Cohen isn't a thug and he didn't threaten her and he didn't send any, they sit there and they go, well, now I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. You know what? These kids have got to start getting really serious about defending their reputations, because they're not public figures. They're just children. They're just gunshot survivors. They're just a mass casualty shooting event survivor trying to advocate for the 5 things that they want. Research into gun violence. Find out what it is that makes people go over the edge. They want a ban on assault weapons, which is the most radical thing in all of their requests. They want comprehensive background checks. They want to close the gun show loophole. They want to close the internet loophole. I mean, they're asking for so little, and they have to be called Hitler. They have to be called traitors to the nation. They have to be called crisis actors. They have to be called liars. They have to be called tools of some shadowy organization or some shadowy adult. Honestly, bring a defamation lawsuit, honest to God, because I'll tell you what, that is Stormy Daniels' secret weapon. This Stormy Daniels story has nothing to do with the one-time affair that Stormy Daniels had with Donald Trump. You know what I really think Donald Trump was afraid of her telling? That she wasn't into him, that she didn't find him attractive, that she did it because she thought, this is what I deserve because I put myself in a situation to be alone with him. She was 27 years old. He was 60 years old. She was not attracted to him. He didn't want her to tell anybody that there was a porn star that didn't find him attractive. That's number one. Number two, he didn't want her to tell the story about in 2011 when she tried to sell her story for $15,000 to In Touch magazine, that he sent a thug to a parking lot in Las Vegas to threaten her life. And all of this is about thugs. All of this is about the president with his Scaramucci guys and his Michael Cohen guys and all of these thugs that are around the president because the president is a thug. But Stormy Daniels understands just how to fight fire with fire. And she and Michael Avenatti, her attorney, brought a defamation lawsuit against the president because the president is lying about her. And Sarah Sanders is lying about the president. Sarah Sanders, who's not under oath and needs to be, keeps going up to that podium saying that the president has fully answered all your questions about Stormy Daniels and that he's fully denied that he ever slept with her. The president has said nothing about Stormy Daniels, and she keeps insisting that he said everything he needed to say to deny that he'd ever slept. He said nothing. The two things that Donald Trump is scared of, Robert Mueller and Stormy Daniels. And both of them are using the legal system to hold this man to the bar of justice, hold him accountable to the people of the United States, to the laws of this country. No one, as they say, is beneath or above the law. Stormy Daniels is not beneath the law. She has every right to go to court. She is being defamed. She's been called a liar. She's been called a whore. She's been lied about. She's been threatened by a thug. She's been intimidated. She's been threatened in front of her infant daughter. She's been the subject of panel discussions from the evangelicals who have called her every name in the book to excuse this disloyal, dishonest man. Oh, my God. So I think these kids from Marjorie Stoneman, I think that they need to bring a defamation lawsuit. It scares the bejesus out of people. I've been sued for defamation, I think 3 times. And you know what? If you've told the truth, while it's a pain in the ass to be sued, I mean, there's so much document production. There's so much paper. Every email is discoverable that you ever sent to anybody about anything to do with the subject at hand. Every document you ever relied on to, form your opinion or to have an opinion or to state the facts, that's all subpoenable. That's all producible. Then you got interrogatories, these crazy, crazy questions, like a big, giant book of questions, and you have to answer every last one of them. Why? Because they don't go into a deposition without knowing what your answers to questions are. Lawyers never ask a question they don't know the answer to. They're not geniuses. Trust me, I know a lot of them. They're pretty dumb. They might know their little niche of law, But they don't know anything else. Nothing. It's really the dirty little secret. But listen to what's going on now, because Michael Avenatti has asked the court, and he wants like a rocket docket. He wants this to go very, very fast. He wants the president and Michael Cohen under oath in a defamation lawsuit, okay? And he only wants, and this is, he must, I mean, they know what they're going for, because a deposition can last 8 hours. Legally, it can last all day. It could be like a whole day. And then they could ask for more time. 8 hours. I think I was deposed by the defense contractor. I think I was deposed for 3 days, 2.5 days, 8 hours a day. It was unbelievable. Okay, and so they only want Donald Trump for 2 hours under oath. And they only want Michael Cohen under oath for 2 hours. And he only has a document request. Michael Avenatti, he says no more than 10 documents, no more than 10, to Trump and to Cohen on topics relating to the agreement, to the non-disclosure agreement. Well, a hearing is scheduled on this matter for April 30th, next month, okay? Almost like 60 days from today, 62 days from today, in the Central District of California. And if the court says that's reasonable, 2 hours and you can't say that the president is too busy to take a deposition, because we all know about Paula Jones and her civil case against Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton was being investigated for a land deal called Whitewater, which they found absolutely nothing there. There was nothing that the president, that President Clinton had done wrong with regard to the Whitewater purchase, the land that he purchased in Arkansas. There was nothing wrong with it. But they expanded it, and they had him in deposition about Paula Jones. They had, gone to Paula Jones, just like the DC versus Heller case. They shop around for a plaintiff. And they shopped around. They found Paula Jones, and she alleged something about sex and dropping his pants. And, she said that she could describe Bill Clinton's penis, but she was inaccurate. But they still won the right to depose Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton did not tell the complete truth. He parsed, he hedged, and they found that what he was doing was not being honest. And they impeached him for it, for lying in a civil case having to do with a woman who accused him of unwanted, touching. Well, he didn't touch her. He told her to kiss it. It's vile. Anyway, that's what happened in Paula Jones. So this is actual sex being alleged by Stormy Daniels, and then Stormy Daniels being called every name in the book, Stormy Daniels being called a liar, Stormy Daniels being threatened in a parking lot, in front of her daughter, Stormy Daniels, being denied her truth, right? And being called all these various names by various people. And so they're bringing a defamation lawsuit, and all he wants is 2 hours with the president and 2 hours with Michael Cohen and 10 documents. And that is completely reasonable. So I think he'll prevail. Now, Michael Cohen has hired himself a lawyer named David Schwartz. Again, went to high school. Oh, God. And they've been having it out on the TV. And Avenatti has actually pointed out that Michael Cohen has a pattern and practice of thuggish behavior. Here, listen to this.
Let's talk a moment about Michael Cohen.
Yeah,
okay?
let's.
Megyn Kelly, not exactly a left-wing liberal in journalistic circles, tweeted last night a portion of an article that appeared in the Daily Beast not long ago, quoting a reporter about the threats that Michael Cohen had made to this reporter. Right. I can't state it on cable television. They're so bad. Okay,
right,
you can go.
Basically destroying this person's life and livelihood.
Correct. I'm not done. Let's talk about the kind of man.
Spoken to Stormy Daniels. He didn't interrupt you when you were speaking.
But he keeps sidetracking.
Well, that's what he's allowed. He's allowed to speak.
Correct.
Allowed to speak.
Right. Let's talk about Michael Cohen. What kind of man this is. This is the kind of guy who claimed in connection with that story that there's no such thing as spousal rape. This is a legal genius. Right. Completely false. The guy doesn't even know the law. He's a thug. Your friend is a thug.
Well, thank you. That's $1 million.
No, that's
$1 million. $1 million. You know what? You're a thug. Anyone who would come on here.
Wait a second.
Anyone, you see, anyone. By the way,
he's a thug.
And, you know, as he's saying thug, David Schwartz is threatening Michael Avenatti every time he calls his client, his friend, a thug. He goes, that's $1 million. And so Avenatti starts counting how many times he wants to call him a thug. He goes, that's $1 million. Thug, 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 thug. Now, it's interesting. He did say that a spouse can't rape his wife, and he said that because Ivana Trump accused Donald Trump of raping her during their marriage. And that's when Michael Cohen said that. Megyn Kelly, she said that she was threatened by Michael Cohen and that Fox News had to explain to Michael Cohen that killing Megyn Kelly wasn't a really good idea.
You ended up with security. I mean, you had to even go to Disney World, I think, with your family. You had to have a security.
We had security guards the whole year. I mean, the threat level just got so high that it was impossible not to take that seriously. And, you know, it's not like I was walking around actively believing that somebody was going to necessarily try something, but it was high enough that we had to take it seriously.
Well, you write about it in the book that a Fox executive actually said something to the Trump campaign about, you know, it would not be good for you if Megyn Kelly is killed.
Oh, my God.
So Michael Cohen, who is Trump's top lawyer and an executive vice president with the Trump Organization, had retweeted, "Let's gut her," about me at a time when the threat level was very high, which he knew. And Bill Shine, an executive vice president at Fox, called him up to say, you got to stop this. Like, we understand you're angry, but this is, you know, she's got 3 little kids. She's walking around New York, really. And he didn't much care. And what Bill Shine said to Michael Cohen was, let me put it to you in terms you can understand. If Megyn Kelly gets killed, it's not going to help your candidate.
Holy crap. So this is the guy that Michael Avenatti is, referring to. So if he threatens Megyn Kelly and he wants to gut her and he doesn't much care when somebody at Fox News calls him up and says, killing Megyn Kelly isn't going to help your candidate. And this is the way that they have to couch it to Michael Cohen. And he still doesn't care. And why do they want to go after Megyn Kelly? Because Megyn Kelly asked about all the women that Trump has lied about and denigrated and called pigs and ugly and, all kinds of names. This is not, that woman, she said that I went after her. Look at her. After, saying the same thing on the stage about, what's her face from Hewlett Packard? Carly Fiorina. Look at that face. Who would vote for that? So Megyn Kelly asked him, and she got death threats from Michael Cohen. Yeah, I think that he's a thug.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams introduces its Spring 2018 home collection of classic, modern, and new traditional silhouettes in a vivid spectrum of colors, textures, patterns, and prints. The new spring collection features a modern slant with clean-lined and comfortable styles that pay tribute to iconic American designs from the mid-century to the late 1970s. Experience the new collection in comfort at a signature store near you or peruse the entire collection in e-catalog online. Find a store and shop online at mgbwhome.com. Join the Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams Comfort Club, a customer loyalty program that offers you 20% savings every day with exclusive access to special member-only offers and services like complimentary in-home design. It's free. It's easy to join. Sign up now. Start saving today at a Mitchell Gold and Bob Williams signature store near you or online at mgbwhome.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear. Tom Steyer's in the house. He's founder of Need to Impeach and Next Gen America, your Need to Impeach campaign. What was it that set you off to do this?
It wasn't something that I sought out to do. It just seemed like, my goodness gracious, no one seems willing to tell this incredibly important truth, which is that we have a president who's breaking the law on a daily basis, who is dangerous to us, who does not do his job as commander-in-chief, and for some reason, other elected officials don't want to call him out on it. I mean, they say mean things about him, but they don't really want to do anything, take any action that would prevent him from doing what he's doing.
Your digital army, Tom, is now one of the biggest and most influential in the Democratic Party. What do you say to somebody who says, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute, yeah, he needs to be impeached, but signatures aren't going to get Congress to impeach. I'm going to make it twofold. And does a Republican majority in the House and the Senate have the guts or the backbone to impeach him, even if obstruction of justice was proven by special counsel Robert Mueller?
What we believe in is the power and wisdom of the American people, and broadly. And if you look at everything that our organization does, it's all about registering, engaging, encouraging, and enabling participation by as many people in our system as possible. That's what we do. We're a grassroots organization, probably the biggest in the country. But what we're doing with this impeachment campaign is the exact same thing. We're not going to elected officials. We're going to American citizens and saying, if you agree with us, put your name down, because together our voice really matters. Because the truth of the matter is, this isn't a partisan campaign, it's a patriotic campaign. The fact of the matter is, if Mr. Trump were impeached and convicted and thrown out of office.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
She's a disgusting pig, right?
Oh, I was with Donald Trump in 1980. I was sitting with him on an airplane. And he went after me on the plane. Yeah, I'm going to go after. Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you. Man. You don't know. That would not be my first choice.
Well, I just don't respect her as a journalist. I have no respect for her. I don't think she's very good. I think she's highly overrated. She gets out and she starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions. And, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing.
The woman from Russia that won, who we fired, I thought was terrible.
She weighed 118 pounds or 117 pounds, and she went up to 160 or 70. So this is somebody that likes to eat.
Well, you know, it was an amazing phenomenon. She weighed 118. Right. When she won, I don't know if you saw the contest last year. It was from Las Vegas.
She was beautiful.
When she won, she was as beautiful a woman as I've ever seen.
She looked like Cindy Crawford.
Right. She gained about 55 pounds in a period of 9 months. She was like an eating machine.
You know, she gained a massive amount of weight, and it was a real problem. We had a real problem.
They said, how are you going to change the pageant? And I said, I'm going to get the bathing suits to be smaller and the heels to be higher.
Well, obviously it's great outer beauty. I mean, we could say politically correct that the look doesn't matter, but the look obviously matters. Like you wouldn't have your job if you weren't beautiful.
I know. He's a pig. He's disgusting. And that's why Megyn Kelly became enemy number one, because she asked him about these things. She asked him at the presidential debate. And he went all over TV and started threatening her, you know, blood coming out of her, whatever, right? And Michael Cohen goes behind the scenes and literally starts threatening Megyn Kelly to the point where her boss has to call Michael Cohen. So, you know what? And say, if Megyn Kelly gets killed, it's not going to help your candidate. Oh, my God. So Michael Avenatti is completely correct. These are thugs that are in charge of our country, that are in such powerful positions. Although Michael Cohen did not make it to the White House, he's still the president's personal lawyer who claims that he represents a billionaire, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a billionaire, according to Donald Trump. And $130,000 needed to be paid to Stormy Daniels right ahead of the election, like days before the election, and that Michael Cohen's client didn't want to pay that money. So Michael Cohen had to go and take a line of home equity loan against his house in order to pay. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I want to step back for a moment. If you believe him and his close friend, Michael Cohen.
My client. Yeah, and he is a friend.
Your client. Okay. If the American people want to believe them, they have to conclude as follows, Anderson. Michael Cohen got a call from a woman who was completely unbelievable, had no credibility. This woman claimed that she had an affair with Donald Trump a couple weeks before the end of the campaign. They didn't believe her. They thought she was completely full of it. It was all BS. And in response to that, instead of behaving the way that he behaves tonight here, instead of behaving the way that Michael Cohen has behaved in the past, they just rolled over and paid her $130,000 for no reason, even though they thought the entire thing was bullshit.
Unfortunately,
now, wait a minute. I'm not done. I'm not done. If that's true,
it's actually a cheap price.
That's true, I would encourage every American tomorrow morning to call Mr. Schwartz in his office, Mr. Cohen, claim you had an affair with the president. Right. They will promptly send you a check for $130,000. No questions asked.
To avoid litigation.
It's absurd.
Maybe you're right. I agree with you. It is absurd, but it happens every single day in America. And by the way, if you think 90% of the people really care about what your client said yesterday, you have to be completely out of your mind.
These people are disgusting. They're stupid. They're disgusting, and they're liars. I just can't believe Michael Avenatti's completely right. So their version of the story is Donald Trump never had sex with Stormy Daniels, according to the mouthpieces, because Donald Trump's never said anything about it. Nothing. He's terrified of Mueller, and he's terrified of Stormy. Okay. So they say Stormy Daniels called them up. And Stormy Daniels presented this unbelievable story about these falsehoods that she had slept with Donald Trump in 2006. And we know that Trump was having an affair in 2006 at the same golf tournament with another woman, a Playboy model named Karen McDougal, and was physically harassing Summer Zervos on The Apprentice that season because she's got a sexual harassment lawsuit pending with Gloria Allred, right? Summer Zervos does. So these three women all simultaneously, right? And for some strange reason, they respond to the one that they say he never slept with by writing her a check for $130,000. This billionaire, Donald Trump, who just wants her to go away, his claim is that he just wrote her a check to go away, but he didn't do it. His lawyer took a home equity loan against his own house to write the check to a woman who was completely not credible. The lawyer for Donald Trump did that. And she wasn't credible. That makes no sense to anybody. They did it that way because they knew it was in violation of federal campaign finance law. And instead of giving back the money and just saying, you know what, let her tell her story. We don't care. You know, I mean, my position is I never slept with her. She could say whatever just release her from the NDA. Just release her. First of all, NDA should never apply to somebody's sex life. I'm sorry. Therefore, technical information or company secrets, you have a great business model and you don't want other people to know how you, operate your company or what the secret sauce is or what the ingredients in the KFC is. Fine. It's for business. NDAs are for business. They are not for people's sex lives. This hush money idea, that also has to be unconstitutional. People have a right to speak. You got the President of the United States signing people inside the White House to NDAs that will apply to them even after they leave the White House. They won't be able to write a book about their time in the White House because he says he doesn't want anybody to know how crazy he is or how insane he is or how maniacal he is or what he eats or what he does or who he's bringing there. Won't have visitors logs made public. Nothing. Everything with him is a big freaking secret. Everything with him. He's got Mr. Art of the Deal can't get Congress of his own party to pay for a stinking wall. He can't get the Congress of his own party to hire 1,000 new ICE agents. He can't get the Congress of his own party to do anything that he promised he would do, to the point where he's threatening to violate the Constitution and move money around that he has no authority to move from the military to a stupid wall. But he doesn't want anybody to know this. He doesn't want anybody to talk about how he's threatening to run a campaign and denigrate and defame Mueller, which he's already started. There is a full frontal campaign to attack Mueller's character, to defame Bob Mueller, to make Bob Mueller the issue at trial. Not Donald Trump and all these freaking Russian intel agents all over the place. Not Donald Trump firing James Comey to obstruct justice. Not whole pics on an airplane lying and sending out press releases saying that Donald Trump Jr. Was talking about adoption, in his office with these Russian intelligence operatives. Nothing like, these people keep, and now he wants the entire American population that is stupid enough to listen to Fox News to start screaming Mueller is the problem. Mueller is the problem. Bob Mueller, an ex-Marine. Bob Mueller, who's FBI director under a Republican and a Democratic president, who had to get confirmed by the Senate not once but twice. He's the problem. Not Donald Trump and his thuggish behavior. Not Donald Trump and his lies. Not Donald Trump and his lawyer threatening the lives of women. Megyn Kelly. At least we know that one. And according to Stormy Daniels, her too. These people are insane.
You heard Paula Reed make reference to the statement from the spokesman for Michael Cohen, who called this a reckless use of the legal system, but went on to say, in order to continue to inflate Michael Avenatti's deflated ego and keep himself relevant. This is a politically motivated, and people see through this charade.
Mr. Schwartz is a hack straight out of Central Casting. Next question.
Oh, my God. He must have grown up listening to the Randi Rhodes show because he takes no crap. None. Unbelievable. This is great. And so here's what Michael Avenatti is trying to do. As I mentioned, he's filed his defamation lawsuit, and that allows him to do discovery, which includes interrogatories. He's going to have to answer questions under oath in writing, both for Michael Cohen and Donald Trump, and a 2-hour deposition with Donald Trump and a 2-hour deposition with Michael Cohen, which is completely reasonable. I mean, it's beyond reasonable. It's so accommodating, I can't even tell you. And 10 documents that he's requesting. Michael Avenatti would like the production of only 10 documents. And I'm telling you, production of documents in a lawsuit is mind-blowing. That's what Sam Nunberg was screaming about. Remember, he didn't want to go through all of his emails, and they were subpoenaed in discovery, right? He didn't want to do it. He said he'd go and talk to Mueller, but he didn't want to produce the documents because it's really, really cumbersome. It is. It absolutely is. But, okay, so all Michael Avenatti wants is these 10 documents and 2 hours with the president, 2 hours with Michael Cohen, and he wants the trial, the actual trial. He wants discovery completed within 90 days and take it to trial within 90 days. He wants it expedited. So April 30th, he goes for his judicial ruling in Central California to find out if he can depose the president and Michael Cohen for 2 hours apiece, and if he can subpoena only these very limited discovery, 10 documents, and from the date of receipt of the 10 documents and from the date of the conclusion of the depositions, he wants to be at trial. Oh, I love this man. See, now, I went on trial in Northern Virginia one time, and in Northern Virginia, they have something called the rocket docket, and it goes so fast. So you do have to perform like a freaking trained SEAL. You have to produce all your documents, answer all the questions, show up for depositions, and then, bam, it goes to trial. It's very fast, and that's what Avenatti is looking to have happen here. And I am so rooting for Donald Trump to be placed under oath. Do you now see the common thread that has run through the show? Getting these people under oath is the best thing we can do for our country. Getting people under oath. Now, sure, the president can't be. This is why they don't want him to talk to Mueller either, because he can't tell the truth. He is genetically disabled that way. The truth is not something Donald Trump can tell. It's not something he can do. He's a congenital, habitual liar to the point where almost everything he says is meaningless. And Americans they're disoriented by him. You know, I watched Sarah Sanders yesterday say that the citizenship question has been on our census since 1965, knowing that there was no census in 1965 because there were only census in 10-year increments. So there would have been one in 1950, there would have been one in 1960, and then the next one would be in 1970. And she still disoriented us. Scotty and I had already looked at the story. It was already in the paper. We had already done our show prep for the morning. We'd already had our conversation. You know, it's the rundown for the show. We have that conversation every morning at 11:30. And, you know, we had already researched it and said, no, the last time the citizenship question was ever on a census was in 1950. And then she comes moseying along at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she makes this claim about 1965. And you know what? It's so disorienting. We started doing all the research. Go, is she right? Is she right? Of course she's not right. But we didn't even touch the story yesterday because we wanted to make sure. And we did it again today. So there's more information today in the homework section about how she lied yesterday. I mean, it's so disorienting. And if it's disorienting to us, and we read. Every day we read. Every day we pull audio. Every day we check the veracity of facts. Every day we look and we read. We see. We do fact checks. We do our own fact checks. We play old audio with new audio to show that somebody is a lying sack of crap. Whatever. It's still so disorienting. And if it's disorienting to us, can you imagine what somebody who watched Roseanne last night is going to think? Oh, my God. People are raving about it, not me. It wasn't funny. That's its major crime. That Roseanne thing, 18 million people watched that last night. It wasn't funny. Roseanne is intolerable to me. She's insufferable. All her tweeting and everything else that I know she's already, and now she's trying to make money off of her wrongheadedness about, you know, and I can already see where it's going. She's going to be addicted to Oxy in this comedy. And they're going to try and tackle all the issues of middle America as if it's not, touching me, as if it's not touching you. It's only happening in Portsmouth, Ohio. Oh, please, give me a freaking break with this. And making Jackie wear the pink pussy hat. Stop it!
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force.
Herky Jerky has a screaming case of March Madness, so let the games begin. Try Herky Jerky's delicious game jerky and meat sticks. All Herky Jerky staples for more than 25 years. They're talking about their famous buffalo, elk, and venison, which contains less fat and carbs than beef. And because theirs are farm-raised and grass-fed, they don't have that woodsy taste like some of the other kinds. If you've never had buffalo, elk, or venison meat, it's time to give it a try. They're healthy, they are tasty, and this month, all of the game jerky packs are $5 off. The venison sticks come in hot and mild, and they were once voted best in the country at a major food show on the West Coast, and from that point on, it's been their best-selling item. Whether you're already a fan of game meat or have never tried it, now's the time to take advantage of the savings. $5 off all month long and free shipping with 2 packs or more of anything in the store, including the beef, the bacon, and the turkey, too. No promo code needed. Just try some today. Go to herkyjerky.com.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show. Watch every week on Free Speech TV, Link TV, YouTube, or if you're in New York, CUNY TV. Prefer to listen? Subscribe to the free podcast at lauraflanders.com. I end every week with a commentary. I call it the F word. Here's this week's.
What happened in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, March 14th wasn't unusual. A black lesbian leftist child of the favelas was gunned down in public, probably by an agent of the state. Favela families die every day in Brazil, crammed together in poorly constructed homes on never-invested-in streets. From the favelas on Rio's mountainsides, you can actually see the multi-million-dollar beachfronts down below. Poverty, depression, and violence claim favela people all the time. And so, increasingly, do cops. In 2017, police killed over 1,000 people just in Rio alone. The poorer you are, the more danger you're in. In the last few years, the Brazilian establishment has been making all sorts of choices to invest in real estate, Olympics, corporate tax breaks, but not education, not healthcare, not public service. To deal with the unrest, the current government's invested in repression, costly drones, Israeli military police trainers, the military itself. Now soldiers patrol the streets. Black people are killed with impunity. Women too. LGBT people? More LGBT people are murdered per year in Brazil than any place else on this earth. So, a black lesbian killed in Rio isn't generally a headline grabber. And this one was a leftist. Just hours before her death, Mariela Franco, a city council member, was at an event about the oppression of young black women. On her way home, a car pulled up next to hers. Someone fired 9 shots into her car and drove off. Nothing was stolen. The bullets that struck Franco and her bodyguard, we now know, were Army issued. What's unusual was that woman, a black lesbian.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh, everybody. Trump just fired the VA, the head of the VA, Shulkin, who is a Obama holdover, so he's gone. Would you like to meet your next head of the VA? Would you like to meet him? He's got to get confirmed by the Senate. This confirmation is going to be a scream, everybody. This one's going to be fun. Here is our new Secretary of the VA.
Explain to me how a guy who eats McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicks and all those Diet Cokes and who never exercises is in as good a shape as you say he's in.
It's called genetics. I don't know. It's some people have just great genes. I told the president that if he had a healthier diet over the last 20 years, he might live to be 200 years old. I don't know. I mean, he has incredible genes. I just assume he doesn't sleep much. I mean, I would say that this is just my guess based on being around him. I didn't ask him this question, so I could be wrong on this. But I would say he sleeps 4 to 5 hours a night. And
you didn't ask?
I think he's probably been that way his whole life. That's probably one of the reasons why he's been successful. I don't know, because me personally, I need a lot more sleep than that. But he's just one of those people, I think, that just does not require a lot of sleep.
Ronnie Jackson, everybody, the president's doctor, is going to be the new head of the VA. Oh, I can't wait for his confirmation hearing. So, Admiral Jackson, how much does the president weigh? How tall is the president? Oh, my God. Remember that? And Sanjay Gupta. Oh, that was good. Remember Sanjay Gupta had to say the president actually has a heart condition because Admiral Jackson there described a heart condition. And then, the Admiral covered it up. Oh, this is going to be fun. And then he lied about his height. He lied about his weight. He said he didn't ask him how many hours a night he sleeps. You didn't ask. This man is obviously manic. He's tweeting all night long, ridiculous stuff he can't spell to save his life. Cafefe. I didn't ask him. So that's our new head of the VA. Oh, that ought to be fun. I can't wait for that confirmation here. I can't wait for a lot of these confirmation hearings because remember, he's fired everybody. And these people need to be confirmed. It should be great. Especially Gina Haspel, the torturist. Can't wait for that. I can't. I'm so loaded for bear on that topic. Oh, my God. All right, Michael and Boca.
Randy.
Hey, babe.
So, Mr. President, did you drink water? Nah, I didn't ask him. Nah. So he just eats fudge and pork rinds all night? Yeah, some people can. Hey, what do you want from me?
No, he's genetically blessed, Michael.
Exactly. That's how he acted. That's how he was acting.
Yeah. No, he's a fat fuck, okay, with an ass that sits beside him, and this doctor declares that he weighs, like a nice 220, and that he's 6'5" or something. I mean, it's just unbelievable how no one around this man can tell the truth.
He's a virus. He's some kind of symbiotic mass of goo. Whoever goes around him, all of a sudden you come back and, my name's not Michael, it's Steve. Yeah.
I want to know why his doctor didn't inquire within about why are you orange?
Did you see that meme? Somebody put a meme up that has, they're saying it's stormy in the bed, and then it's just this orange body print. Without him there.
Should put her spanking a Cheeto.
Yeah.
Wait, I was just going to tell you something. This is unbelievable. What's his name? Richard Benveniste, who is one of the most buttoned down, very erudite, very, careful in his words, very, white shoe lawyer for past presidents and stuff like this. He won't represent the president either. And they were interviewing him last night, and they asked him why he wouldn't represent the president. And he goes, oh, come on. I'm sure you've heard around Washington what they're calling the president. And they said, no, what? And Richard Benveniste, this very, staid guy, says they call him Spanky.
Oh, man. Oh.
It was classic.
But, Randy, you and I know that I'm about to throw up just even thinking about it. If there were a videotape of him smashing her, he would like it, Randy, if it were released. You know he would. So that's not it.
No.
You know that's not what it is. He would not have a problem with that at all. He would think that was dope.
Right.
If there was a videotape of his big white her toiling under that belly.
Oh, gag! Okay, it's enough. It's very visual for me. I will never get that out of my permanent Rolodex.
I know. Randy, she said something very dangerous, though, the other night that takes me to the Me Too movement, and that's this. She said she did not want to have sex with him, but she's not a victim. Now, that leads into very dark territory because then it goes into the question of, so no matter what happens to a woman, she has to define it. And if she doesn't, then it isn't whatever it is that happened. It just isn't that particular act. So therefore, the goal becomes to stop the woman from giving it a label. That's a really slippery slope, Randy.
Well, you know what really made me sad about that statement is that she thinks that because she's a woman and she allowed herself to be alone with him, she had it coming.
Right, it's her responsibility, exactly.
Sex should never be about I had it coming, okay?
No.
Something should come, but not you had it coming. Sex should be about something that is consensual, enjoyable, fun, or for procreation, whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? It's not because you had it coming. That was the saddest thing I've
because
heard.
She let it happen, therefore it was consensual. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, because
she let it happen.
Because she didn't say no, yeah.
Oh, that is sad, Randy.
It was sad. It was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
It is, and that's very dangerous if we're going to go down that path because it could be flipped on the other side and say, well, wait a minute, if you guys are just saying the woman defines it, no matter if he beat her or pushed her down or held her down, unless she says it, then that means you could have a situation like Aziz, that girl, who says something happened and didn't.
I think whoever says no gets to describe the rest. You know what I mean? If a guy says no and he's still, still feels whatever, I think he gets to label it. And if the woman says, I really don't want to, but I will, then she gets to name it, whatever it is. She can say what it is. Whoever says no or whoever. If
you're going to smash at somebody says I
want to put it in a different frame, okay? Just a different picture so people can understand, the guys, especially guys out there. If you're a heterosexual guy and you allow yourself to be alone in a room with a gay guy who's very attracted to you, would you ever come to the conclusion, well, I guess I have to because I allow...
Randy, stop it!
Okay, so that's
Randy, stop it!
Okay. So that's how sad it is to hear her say that.
I mean, I'm not gay, Randy, but, I had to because, I went over there. Nobody's going to say that, Randy.
Exactly, and that's what's so different about a woman's experience, and how, that's why it's different, just because people could listen to a woman say that, but if it was a heterosexual male saying that about a gay male, everybody would say, "Whoa, wait a minute, what?" And it would be a conversation for the ages. But
or they would say to him, "Well, dude, you gay if you did it." That's what they would say, Randy.
Right. They'd label
him. You're gay.
Right.
Exactly. They would label him and say, no, because they would never accept that as being okay. But when she said it, there's been no talk about the fact that this woman said she did not want to do it.
Right. She wasn't attracted to him.
That's right.
She didn't want to, but she thought it was her fault. And that's the problem. That is the problem with what women go through. Now, this is a very sexually free woman. Obviously, she doesn't have hang-ups about that, and God love her for it, because I really wish that I didn't need the social lubricant in order to get in the mood. Apparently, she can turn it on and off, and I think that's a superpower. But
you could tell by that tweet, Randy, that she sent when she said, "We weren't sleeping, tee-hee-hee." You could tell she's very free about her sexuality.
And I admire real freedom. I do. I think that's a wonderful gift. I truly do. And she views, sex as a power she has over men, and she uses it to her benefit, or she uses it to express, love, because she's married, and she's married to a porn star. So they must understand, this is work, this is not. But when I heard even somebody that sexually free describe, well, I guess I had to because I allowed it broke my heart. And all I could think of was, how do I explain this to men? And the easiest way is to say, you're a heterosexual guy. You allowed yourself to be alone with a gay man, and you went through with it because you had it coming. No man would accept that. It would be... All right. So stop.
This is a wonderful conversation, Randy. That is a wonderful. No, but what you're saying, that's a wonderful conversation. That is a bucket of ice water to any man that doesn't understand that pressure.
That's what I'm here for.
And what the culture has done to women to make them feel like, well, you caused this, so you need to go ahead and finish it.
Yeah. And and that's what I'm here for.
Love you.
Love you. That was his cleansing moment of clarity on the topic, and that's why I'm here. That's why I'm Randi Rhodes. It's what I do. That suggests that people be under oath if they're using their office, like Sarah Honey Boo Boo there. She's standing behind a president. She's standing in the presidential briefing room. She should be under oath. President, when he addresses the nation from the Oval Office or behind the presidential seal or at a State of the Union, they ought to be under oath. Congressmen, and not political speech, not when they're campaigning. I get that. That's a free-for-all. That's an argument. That's opinion. But if you're using your office as a shield, or if you're using the floor of the Senate, or if you're using the floor of the House, or if you're using, your office to, address your constituents or address the nation, you better be under oath. That will straighten out a whole lot of this crap. And that's what I'm here for. Cleansing moments of clarity. Drew in Rochester.
Hey, Randy.
Oh, we're
my good lady. Look, I don't think that Trump, in terms of deposing him, I don't think he could. He will mess himself up.
He'd lie.
Yes, he is going to lie, and that's when he is going to get it.
Well, he'll lie, and he'll be charged with perjury in a civil case, and the court will run its course, but the President of the United States will not be impeached by a GOP, by this current Congress. They won't do what they did to Clinton to Donald Trump. And that's why the next big conversation Americans have to have is to figure out the law with regard to, can you indict a president? Because if the answer is no, we're stuck with the lying sack of crap with a perjury charge against him.
And what do you think about this idea that he wants the military now to pay for this friggin' wall? I mean, anybody could see through that.
Yeah.
It's the taxpayers, because how do the military get paid? Our tax dollars.
Of course.
So it's we the man is suggesting that we, the taxpayers, pay for his friggin' wall.
He's always suggested that. That's why he asked for the $25 billion in the budget, and they refused. His own party refused to give it to him. And so now Idiot Boy thinks that the president can move money around, and he can't. The president can't spend a nickel, Drew.
Absolutely
not a dime. He has to go to Congress, and he has to ask Congress to reallocate the money he allocated to the military, and they will never do it. They had their chance just now, and they said no. So
Word up.
He thinks he's a king.
Hey, in his own mind.
Yeah,
thanks, Randy.
You're welcome. Not under the Constitution. The president can't sit in the Oval Office. He doesn't have the power of the purse. Congress does. And he can't redirect money from the military, from the Department of Defense that's allocated for the DOD over to building a stupid wall. He can't do that. And if he tries to do it, then maybe Congress will get pissed enough to impeach him. But I will tell you this. We only have 8 more months till we vote. That's all. Just 8 more months. And you know damn well he has no legal team. God only knows where the Mueller investigation will be in 8 months. Already today we know Rick Gates and Paul Manafort are connected to Russian intelligence in a written indictment against this Skadden Arps attorney who's begging for his life. I mean, this guy's being tried. He's already on trial, and he's begging for leniency and all this stuff. I mean, it's this Alex Vanderswan guy. A 30-page memo filed last night. He's begging for leniency. He asked the judge, please don't send me to jail next week. This is the first trial in the Mueller investigation, you understand. And these documents show that Rick Gates, who pled guilty, and Paul Manafort, who didn't and is preparing for trial, were not only in touch with Russian intelligence, but one of the Russian intelligence agents was running Paul Manafort's office in Ukraine, in Kiev. This is going to get so 8 months, we don't know where Mueller will be, but I'm sure Avenatti will have already had, by April 30th, well, I don't know if the court will decide on April 30th, but the hearing will be on April 30th, and shortly thereafter we'll find out whether or not the president has to be under oath, whether or not Michael Cohen, the thug, has to be under oath. And yes, you can call him that. He threatened Megyn Kelly's life. He's threatened, we suspect that he's threatened Stormy Daniels back in 2011 when no one was running for president. For what reason did you try to silence her then? For what reason? What is that about with these people? And then he said Ivana Trump was lying in her divorce because you can't rape your own spouse when she said that Donald had raped her. Why? Oh, because she sent him to a plastic surgeon for scalp reduction surgery and it went awry. And that's when he beat her and raped her. Buy a stinking podcast.